All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about a day that's all about strength, sacrifice, and just this incredible, unyielding spirit. We're talking about Parakram Diwas, India's Day of Valor.
So what is Parakram Diwas? Well, the name itself is powerful. It means Day of Valor, and it's celebrated every year on January 23rd. Why that date? Because it's the birthday of one of India's most defiant and iconic freedom fighters, Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose. Really, the whole day is a tribute to his incredible, unbreakable spirit.
You've probably heard his most famous call to action, and it is absolutely bone-chilling in its intensity. Give me blood, and I shall give you freedom. I mean, just think about that. That's not just some catchy slogan, right? That is a demand for the ultimate sacrifice, all for one thing: liberty.
And that just makes you wonder, doesn't it? Who was this man who could say something like that and have thousands, literally thousands, ready to follow him? Because, let me tell you, his path to freedom, it was completely different from what most other leaders were doing at the time.
Okay, so let's get into his story. We're going to trace his journey, which is pretty incredible, from this brilliant academic scholar to a full-blown revolutionary. And you know, this transformation, it's everything you need to know to understand the man they called Netaji, which means respected leader.
So, Subhas Chandra Bose was born into a pretty prominent family. And he was smart, like really smart. He went to Presidency College, then off to Cambridge. In 1920, he took the Indian Civil Service exam, the ICS, which was a huge deal, and he ranked 4th. You have to understand, a comfortable, powerful career serving the British Raj was basically handed to him on a silver platter.
And what does he do? He turns it all down. He just walks away from it. He resigns from the ICS. And his reason why is captured in this one powerful line: only on the soil of sacrifice and suffering can we raise our national edifice. It's like from day one, he knew that freedom wasn't going to be easy. It was going to cost, and he was ready to pay that price himself.
His political career, wow, it was like a rocket ship. He joins the Indian National Congress in 21, and by 1938, he's the president. But, and this is a big but, he had major ideological differences, especially with Mahatma Gandhi. So he resigns. And then comes this almost unbelievable story, the Great Escape, from house arrest in 1941, a super daring journey that eventually leads him in 1943 to take command of the Indian National Army. And that right there, that's the heart of his story, this massive ideological divide. See, Bose's plan for getting freedom, it was a world away from the path of nonviolence that was leading the mainstream movement.
Okay, look at this. It really breaks down the two completely different mindsets. On one side, you have Mahatma Gandhi, whose entire strategy was built on nonviolence and civil disobedience. And then you have Bose. He's looking at World War II raging across the globe and thinking, Britain's difficulty is India's opportunity. He was convinced that freedom would never be given, it had to be taken. For him, the only way that was going to happen was with a military strike from the outside. So, with that belief driving him, he sets out to create what would become his greatest contribution to the freedom struggle, his own army, with one single goal: liberating India.
He took charge of the Azad Hind Fauj, which you might know as the Indian National Army, or INA. And let's be clear, this wasn't just some symbolic group. He turned it into a professional fighting force. He saw the INA as the sharp end of the spear, the thing that would deliver that final blow to the British.
And this is where you really see his vision for what India could be. The INA was a blueprint for unity. We're talking about Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, all not just fighting side by side, but eating together from the same kitchen. This was a huge deal, breaking down all those religious and caste barriers. And get this, in a move that was decades ahead of its time, he created the Rani Jhansi Regiment, one of the world's very first all-female combat units. Just incredible.
The man knew how to inspire people, and his slogans were legendary. Jai Hind, victory to India. You still hear that everywhere, right? It became the national salutation. Delhi Chalo, on to Delhi. That was the war cry that fired up the INA. And of course, freedom is not given, it is taken. That pretty much sums up his entire worldview. These phrases weren't just words, they were fire.
Okay, so you can't really talk about Netaji without talking about the end of his life. It's complicated, but what's really important, his real legacy, isn't found in the mystery of his death. It's in the undeniable power of his life and his vision. So here's the mystery. The official story is that he died in a plane crash in Taiwan back in 1945. But for decades, that's been a huge point of debate. There have been all these investigations and commissions, but for a lot of people, there are still way more questions than answers.
But lately, and I think this is the right way to look at it, the focus has started to shift. Instead of getting lost in the mystery of how he died, people are asking a much more important question. How did he live? Because that is where you find his real lasting impact.
When you look at his life, there are at least 4 huge takeaways for us today. First, his push for a self-reliant, industrialized India. I mean, how relevant is that right now? Second, this incredible model of unity that ignores religious divides, which he proved was possible with the INA. Third, just the sheer power of vision. The guy built an army and a provisional government out of sheer will. And finally, maybe the biggest one, is the courage to stand up and question even the most powerful leaders when you believe in a greater cause.
So, at the end of the day, when we celebrate Parakram Diwas, it's about more than just remembering a freedom fighter. It's about honoring a true visionary. A man who saw India as a powerful, independent leader on the world stage way, way before anyone else thought it was possible.
Jai Hind. And that leaves us with one final thing to think about. When you look at his life, a life of so much sacrifice, courage, and just this unbreakable conviction, it really makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? What does it truly mean to fight for freedom?